Hi, I'm Ansa Alt, and I'm here to present our pilot project, Extraterritory. Since last fall, I have been writing and designing this idea for a game that has now turned into this project on including artists and artistic vision to the earliest parts of game design. We wanted to see how this would affect and push forward the design and early concept of the game.
One of the challenges in game development is how easily realism begins to limit thinking. If a game is set on another planet, why should it still repeat familiar logic? In this project, I am particularly interested in the scale of the human figure within an unfamiliar environment, a character who does not belong to that world. That disproportion is my artistic starting point. For me, art is not about direct explanation, but about merging different observations and perspectives into one.
When the world is unfamiliar to the player, I believe the soundscape must also carry that sense of unfamiliarity. When the game world is set beyond Earth, I am interested in creating new sounds and timbres that do not yet exist. I do not mean merely unusual effects, but a sonic language that does not directly refer to any familiar instrument or cultural framework.
I am especially drawn to 3D because it combines many elements: drawing, constructing space, choosing light, and framing. In 3D, you can literally place a world and decide what the player sees. Ideas often begin with a simple question. When I think about time shifts or time loops, I choose one idea and start developing it further. I do not know everything at the beginning. For me, it is more important to ask how something works, what it causes, and how far it extends. Is it a small spatial phenomenon, or does it affect the logic of the entire world?
Games create a particular tension. The player controls the character, yet the character has their own narrative arc. In a time loop structure, there can be situations where the player knows more than the character, or vice versa. That creates tension, but it requires careful balance so the character doesn't feel inconsistent with the player's actions. Through role analysis, the character is no longer just a technical entity, but an agent with a past, a position, a profession, and goals. It forces me to ask, what does this character know? What do they believe? What do they fear? How do these aspects appear in movement, rhythm, and in their spatial relationship to the environment?
Where the camera is placed, what the player sees, and how the controls feel have a huge impact on what playing the game feels like. Even a small change in perspective or movement can transform the entire experience. For me, artistic thinking means not asking first how something works, but what it means. Only after that do we consider how it can be implemented technically. There is no neutral code. Every technical choice shapes how the player experiences the world.
I never experience music as neutral. It establishes a perspective and guides the player's state of mind.
At the same time, the character does not exist in isolation. They take shape in relation to the world, the game mechanics, and the genre. This project has taught me that 3D is not just about modeling. It's a way of making a character's thinking visible, when technical and artistic work move forward together.
Developing my own expression is based on recognizing effective examples and building on them.
In collaboration, I value honesty. It is important that someone dares to say if an idea does not work or if the direction is wrong. Not everything needs to be justified at length, because over-explaining can disrupt the process. In artistic work, speaking impulses out loud is valuable, and you should not fear others' reactions. The role of an artist in a game project is to offer alternatives.
Exposing an unfinished idea for many people to see is uncomfortable, and I would have preferred to write more before opening it up like this. I don't regret it, however. It's been really beneficial for me and the concept. Working like this, you have to step out of your comfort zone, but it is worth it for creativity and it moves the idea forward. It also requires flexibility. You can't go completely according to your own preferences, and you have to be able to take other people's ideas into account, even when it's your story.
An idea should not be locked too early. It needs time to remain unfinished and in motion. When I draw, the thought is not fully formed in advance. The line thinks at the same time as the hand moves. The real work happens in that unfinished state, in a quiet space where I listen and observe before I know where I am going. This is also why artificial intelligence interests me only to the extent that it creates space for thinking. It can remove repetition, but it cannot replace the moment in which an idea takes shape through making. My sense of being an artist pulses in silence. This project has reinforced for me that freedom does not arise from boundlessness, nor from rigid constraints, but from a bounded playground.
The artistic side is more difficult for me because the why often only becomes clear through doing. Uncertainty is part of the process. That's why I've learned to value clear core questions at the beginning of a project, and the importance of discussing direction together early on.
Through this project, I have also learned to trust myself more. I joined without a formal background in game programming and quickly realized that I can learn and do much more than I thought. Because of all these, I've begun to see how programming directly shapes how a game feels, what it communicates, and how the world opens up to the player.
The rush schedule of this trial has been hard on our artists, and towards the end of our deadline, they've had increasing difficulties forcing creativity. I haven't been immune to this either, and my writing pace has stalled. In the gaming industry, professionals have long talked about the issues of such crunch periods. And while this has been just a light version of it for our last few weeks, we're absolutely feeling the effect. I wish to leave this talk with the advice to everyone that when you have an idea, write it down, even if just for fun. Sometimes, when you play around with it, it starts to grow and become something you can present to others, and maybe even something you get to work with in the future. Or to make it your own palace of imagination. Thank you.